Hi, my name is Jake Ballard, and I'm going to be doing my replacement presentation on the 2018 Men's and Women's NCAA National Championships. For the men's side, it was Villanova versus Michigan, and for the women's side, it was Notre Dame versus Mississippi State. And I wanted to do these two particular games because of the men's side, because my uncle used to be the assistant coach under Jay Wright, who was the coach of Villanova. And then for the women's side, I knew that it was a crazy ending to this game. I wanted to watch it again, so it kind of went into my favor. So the ending of the women's game was Ungambale. Sorry, I don't know how that's pronounced her name. But she hits another buzzer beater to win the national championship. And for Villanova, they just completely destroyed Michigan. So next, we're going to be talking about the players and athletes and how they were described in the commentary. So for the men, the commentators talked about them as big, strong, and tough, and how they're extremely athletic. But also, it was the same thing in the women's commentary. These commentators said that they were big, strong, and tough, and some of them were quick, some of the men were quick, so they were described kind of the same way in those terms. For example, like Mo Wagner on Michigan, they said it was like a mismatch the whole entire game. And then on Mississippi State, they had this woman her name was Tiara McGowan, and she was a big mismatch too. So they were kind of described the same way. Another thing that they talked about were the athletes and their accomplishments. So for like Jalen Brunson, he was a Villanova player. He was the National Player of the Year. They talked about that for him and how he was an all-tourney player, and also Eric Pascal and Mikal Bridges on Villanova, and also Mo Wagner on Michigan. And also for the women, Jessica Shepard and Ugambale were also all tournament, so that's how they talked about them too. And then another big thing they talked about were they described their personal lives and their stories that they talked about. So for Eric Pascal, they talked about how his parents played D1 basketball, and his brother is committed to Temple, and his sister is actually a top basketball recruit. So they were kind of saying how he should be basically in the national championship, like he is a gift and a gifted family. So then they describe a player pull on Michigan during the men's game, and that he brings a lot of energy and dance moves and brings the handshakes every day. So they described his personality. And then for a Villanova player, Con Gillespie, was a freshman, they joke about how he looks like Ryan Arcidiacono, which is a player that was on the 2016 team. And they talk about his looks and how he plays like him. And then for the women's, they talked about a personal story on Gumbale after she ended the UConn's 111-game win streak, the semifinals right before the national championship game that I watched. That after that, she actually hit a buzzer beater to win it, and Kobe Bryant tweeted at her, and they showed her reaction during the game, so that was pretty cool. So I guess they didn't really talk about them differently in an aspect. They kind of talked about everything the same, but the only difference is I guess the announcers talked about the men in more an empowering way, other than the women. That's when we're talking about the coaches and how they were described. So for the men, there's Jay Wright, Villanova's great coach. He's a male. The announcers described him as how he wants to be a part of the city of Philadelphia, and they want to be a brand there. They want to have a Philly culture, and they want to love their fans and their city. And they talked about how he is getting the Legends of Coaching award that year. That's for like the best coach in college basketball at the time. And they also talked about how he won 500 wins, and actually after he has 2 national championships. And then for John Beilein, he's also a great coach for Michigan. They talked about his last 6 years, his 4 Sweet 16s, 3 8 elites, 2 Final Fours, 2 appearances in the national championship. And then they also, after the game, they talked about how they have to recognize him for a great season they had, and how he has a lot going forward, and he's a great coach. So they gave him his utmost respect. And then for the women's part, Muffet McGraw, this is Notre Dame's coach. She's a female. She's also an amazing coach, and they talked about how she received her 800th victory in this game and how they should accomplish her and reward her. And then for the other team, Mississippi State, they have Vic Schaefer, and he's actually a male, and they talked about how he was a notable team 2016 on, and how he changed the program around. He's at 6th season, and he's notable for also snapping that 111-game win streak that I talked about earlier, UConn's. But I guess the only difference that they described was when they were talking about the male coach and how he has brought something different to the table. Actually, the announcers talk about how he has brought more of a harder culture and more demanding because he is kind of a male. That's kind of what they talked about. But with the same genders, they kind of talked about the same things and how they should be accomplished. And they didn't really talk about how the girl-on-girl aspect things. But for the male versus female, they did talk about that with Schaefer. Now I'm going to be talking about similarities and differences in the commentary that I saw. And the thing that they talked about for the men's a lot were how you can get it how you can watch this game on the app, you can stream it, you can get it on the internet, radio, TV, audio, apps, and you can literally watch it anywhere. But when I was watching the women's, it really didn't feel like it was advertised and you could really watch it anywhere. It kind of, when I looked it up trying to find it, it really took me probably 20 minutes to find the whole game, the whole stream. That's what I saw the biggest difference in the commentaries was, and how you can see that there is really a big gap in how you show men sports more than women's. So that gets me onto my last slide, and that's going to be talking about the documentary that I watched. Now on the last slide, on the Tucker Center documentary and how it relates to the game that I watched and what I was looking forward to when I was watching the game. The big thing that I realized, so in sports and men's and women's sports, there always is a big hype, especially in this NCAA tournament game that I saw. There's always a big hype in the game. There's definitely going to be fans that want to watch the game. There's going to be fans that are willing to watch the game, that have an interest in the game. And that coverage deserves to be done. And in the documentary, it talks about how it's not being done. And I agree with that completely. I do agree that there is a pool of people that want to watch women's sports, but they just aren't advertising it as much. And they're saying that to get media coverage, you need to their fans need to show interest, and the only way that to show interest is to like sell their sex. And I actually think that's awful, and how women have to feel like they have to show their femininity just so they won't get called like homophobic names and things, so they can show their femininity. I just think that's awful, and that's a thing that they need to do to also get interest and media coverage. But at the end of the day, I think that men and women both deserve to have 50-50 on media coverage, and it's just not happening because both of these athletes, they put the same amount of time and effort into the offseason, same time and effort during the season. They work on goals. They have leadership they have teammates, leadership things they need to work on. They have coaches. They do the same things male athletes do. And they also are, as the announcers were saying, and as also I agree, that men and women are both the same. They can be athletic, fast, quick, you name it. Both men and women are. And that's what I think. And I believe that men and women should be split on media coverage. Thank you. Have a great day. Hi. My name is Jake Ballard, and I'm going to do my replacement assignment on 2018 men's and women's basketball NCAA national championships. For the men's, it was Villanova versus Michigan, and for the women's, it was Notre Dame versus Mississippi State. And I chose this because the men's and women's basketball NCAA national championships, for the men's, it was Villanova versus Michigan, and for the women's, it was Notre Dame versus Mississippi State. And I chose this because the for the men's side, basically, because my uncle used to be assistant coach for Jay Wright when I was younger. He's actually at Penn State University now. He's head coach there, and I just know the coaching staff's pretty familiar still, and I wanted to watch it again. And for the women's side, it was just the other